Okay, now we're learning the Dvar Malchut. We're continuing with Dvar Malchut. This is a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991. And in it, he's talking about a very unpleasant topic and explaining how it's the most pleasant topic in creation. The unpleasant topic is the Mtzora. Mtzora is the spiritual, for lack of a better name, they call it leprosy. And when a person has it, it's just a discoloration of the skin, but really it's one of the deepest types of impurity. It's like death. So this is a terrible thing. On the other hand, it says about the Moshiach that the Moshiach is called a Mtzora. He's called a leper, a spiritual leper. So why? What's the point? Why? Why is it the Moshiach is the best thing there can be? Moshiach is going to wake up everybody. He's going to make everybody reveal all their true potential for good, for love, for truth, for originality, uniqueness, the uniqueness of every human being in the world. That's what Moshiach is going to do. The most human characters that's ever been brought into the world. He's not going to take you into heaven or save you or something like that. He's going to show you who you really are. That you're not guilty and you're not bad, and the world is not bad and guilty. You have to go to heaven, that the world is infinitely good and God is infinitely close. That's what Moshiach is going to do. So why is he called a Mtzora? Why is he called a leper? So the Rebbe explained that what is this thing of leprosy? Now it doesn't exist as such, like it did in the time of the temple. It doesn't exist, but it still exists. in different forms. What is this idea of leprosy? What happened? The spiritual leprosy. It's just a discoloration of the skin. It's not that the person all of a sudden, feels, he can't walk, he can't talk, he can't move, he can't breathe, he can't, something like that. Something's wrong with his heart, with his blood pressure. Nothing particularly physically is wrong with him. He just has a small discoloration on his skin somewhere. But nevertheless, that signifies the worst type of impurity that there can be. So the Rebbe says, what's going on over here? It says the Rebbe is like this. One of the big messages of Judaism is that God personally cares. God creates everyone, and God is intimately involved with everybody's life, everyone, every human being in the world. The most, disenfranchised person, whatever, the people nobody care about, right? Nobody cares. They write them all off. No, who cares? Right? Like the United Nations with the blacks in Africa. What do they care? The blacks kill each other. Rwanda, kill a million people. It wasn't a million. It was only 900,000. It was 10. What do they care? It doesn't make it, right? All these people, God cares about everyone. Every single person is very important to God. And what's the proof? He creates them. He creates everybody and he keeps everybody alive. So everybody is really good. Okay, but on the other hand, we're created because we have responsibility. God just not just creating us in order to eat and to sleep and to be, that's animals do that. Human beings have responsibility, every human being. Jews have super responsibility, right? We're like the public servants. We're here to remind everybody they've got responsibility. And this responsibility is constant, every instant. Right? What happens to you if you don't do your responsibility? Right? We see nothing happens. Right? You can do all the sins in the world, nothing happens. But you're not connected to the truth. You're not connected to the truth. Right? It's almost like, let's say, a person, a thief, a liar, a murderer, whatever, and he succeeds. He succeeds, and he gets it big time. He's got houses and he's got everything he wants, right? Fame and fortune and this and that, but he's not connected to the truth. Right? And then want to say he goes to heaven, goes to hell. That let God decide that. But the fact is, right now, that person is not connected to the truth. Maybe that's what you want, but that's not real. That's not a real life. It's not a real life. A real life is that you're connected to the truth and you meet the challenges of life all the time. That becomes a meaningful life. If not, it becomes like a drug-induced life, a sleeping life. Life is but a dream. Okay, a person that's asleep and that doesn't, so what? What does he care, right? A person that's a drug addict, what does he care? Let me just be spaced out all the time. What do you care? Because that's what he loses his whole sense of humanity. He doesn't become a human being anymore. He's not a human being. So it says, if a person really wants to be a human being and he really wants to be connected to the truth, so God will do you a favor and he'll send you a sign. And the sign is you got to get yourself together. And that's why there's different problems and troubles in life, that God is sending a sign. Like I say, there's a saying, God doesn't give us what we want, but he always gives us what we need. What we need. Maybe you think you don't need it. Maybe you think that's what you think. But the fact is God does think so. And when a person meets the challenges of life, he becomes more connected to the truth. And the truth is a whole different business. You don't care what people say about you. You don't care if your picture is in the paper. You don't care about anything. You only care about one thing, doing the truth. I want to do the truth because it's the truth. What do you get out of it? Truth. It's a whole different standard than what everybody else lives by. So it comes out that there can be a fool, the biggest loser in the world as far as money goes, as far as popularity goes. But if he does what's true, right, he helps somebody, does a good thing, then that's satisfying somehow or other. That's right. So that's what Mtzora is. Mtzora is that God sends us a sign from heaven, personally, that he cares. And therefore he sends a blemish from a tremendously high place. That God, the reason why God is creating the world, he sends you a sign, a blemish, that you should get yourself together. A warning sign, warning signal. Get together. Just like in a person's body, there's pain. Pain can be a very good thing because it shows you that there's something that's wrong, something you got to fix up. I had a good friend, the person I really respected anyway, and he had diabetes. And by diabetes, sometimes you lose the sensitivity of your body. So they told him that every night he has to check his feet to see if there's not a cut, something like that, because he doesn't feel it. So pain can be a very good thing. Right? Because it indicates there's something wrong. So here's the same thing. It's an indication from God himself, personally, that something is wrong. And that's the whole idea of the Moshiach. Moshiach is going to be a person that is going to come to the world and he's going to show everyone what is right. And he's going to indicate to everybody how you can fix it up. How, if you're not connected to the right, then all of a sudden people realize that there's a blemish. I have to do better. Mizem moving. So now we can understand the whole idea of exile and the redemption. Nigei Mtzora, the whole idea of the blemishes of the Mtzora, of the spiritual leper, that's called exile. The Torah tam, and purifying, the process of purification, this is the redemption. Galut, the whole idea of exile, she'inyan, the whole thing is helen v'hester, a concealment of the light of godliness. Like it says, we don't see any miracles, etc. All we feel is ourselves. Until there's darkness. Now we're in a double and a redouble darkness. Now we're in the end of exile. Because of God, its source. This is the inyan that God is sending us a big sign. Right? It's tremendously high lights. That's the whole world is this big blemish. It's showing how much God cares about us, that he is showing us this big blemish on the surface, the exile. That's above, the source of it is above any exile, above any vessels, but on until the level which is above any revelation and the essence of godliness. It says, we can't see. You said, like Yoshet Choshech Sisro, like it says that God makes darkness his hiding place. Because of the great highness and the amazing highness, the holiness of these lights that come down. In other words, they're so holy that we can't perceive them. It's just too much. It's above revelation From this, Mishtal Shalamata comes down a concealment in the world. Shemizeh Boim Inyanim comes all the negative things that are in the world. So in a short way of saying, you can look at the terrible exile we're in as a punishment, or you can look at the terrible exile we're in as a warning sign, that it's a warning sign. So if you're driving in your car and you see a warning sign comes up that your battery is low, or that your engine is overheating, or that something is wrong, so that's a warning sign you can take heed to, right? But what if you aren't okay? Your car is not okay. But what if you yourself are not okay? What's the warning sign going to be then? So it says the warning sign is going to be the whole entire world, right? The whole entire world is just in darkness, double darkness. You don't see the truth. You don't see the truth. We don't see any godliness. We don't see anything at all. That's a big warning sign, says the Rebbe. And it's a sign that the bad is coming out. It's becoming revealed. You can fix it. Kaven since Makoro, this is the Indian very, very high. Orotel Yoni, tremendously high lights, which are above revelation. Lochen, therefore, Gam after Shtal Shalomata comes down below in the concealment of the world, it's doubled and redoubled Adle Inyanim until things that are the opposite of being pure. Ein Ze'ela, this is only external, but in a way of just a nega, just like a sign on our skin. Lochen, therefore, Gam Atikun, how do we fix it up? Ma'aseinu v'avodotenu kol meshech hazman hagol, is by doing more good. This is not by doing something new. All we have to do is reveal truth of why there is exile. By means of transforming the exile, galot, into geula. Remember, we had that before. All we have to do is put the letter ALEF into it. Just do more good. That by means of drawing down the ALEF, alufo shalom, is godliness, then we can make from gola, which is exile, geula. So what do we have to do? You don't have to make big marches and big protests in front of the White House and in front of the United Nations building, and do more good. The reason for all this terrible stuff is coming to tell us that the end of all this terrible stuff is very, very near. And God really cares about us. And he's revealing all the bad in front of us. And he's trying to tell us we have to do good. Don't partake in the bad. Don't think that by means of holding up a sign and going into the streets and saying, no, the Palestinians, there is no such thing as all these arguments of this, that it's going to work. It's not going to work. That's not the point at all. Because the cause of all this business is not any logical, political, sociological reason that, we have to do is just tell them the truth and they will see they don't care about the truth. That's the whole essence of what's going on. These people are the revelation of bad in the world. And what bad is it? Our bad. Our bad. It's the revelation of my bad in the world, looking in front, we're seeing it in our eyes, what the United Nations says this and that. It's not because those guys are bad, they are bad, but it's because I'm bad. I'm doing something wrong, and this is showing me a sign that I have to do more good. I have to put the ALEF into the gola. Orot el yonim shalamayla megilui, that's above revelation. Asher al yadei, by means of our deeds. It sort of reminds me, there used to be in ships, they used to travel on ships. That was the only way of traveling. And the sailors used to get this disease, which is called scurvy. Scurvy. Anyway, they didn't know what it was. All sorts of, they broke out, their teeth fell out, whatever happened. They tried this, they tried that, this. Somebody said, maybe they're missing vitamin C. That crazy. All these, they started bringing lemons. One guy brought a lemon, and he didn't get scurvy. And however it worked out, you'll have to look at the history of medicine. But anyway, they gave him lemons, and everything came out okay. They were missing vitamin C, and that's all they were missing. And all of a sudden, all the boils went away, and all the terrible things went away, and people stopped dying. They were just missing a few lemons. That was the whole thing. The same thing. We see all this scurvy going on in the world. What's happening in the world? People they support the Hamas, and they support this and the Iran. They're the good guys. Everything is all of a sudden upside down, right? And we have to support UNRWA. And we have this and that, and we see that the United Nations is like the Lubavitcher Rebbe said. It's a terrorist organization. The whole United Nations is just a terrorist organization. The Lubavitcher Rebbe said. It's just a place of darkness and lies. 70 wolves against one sheep. Nobody knew what they were talking. What was the Rebbe talking about? There are a couple of good nations there also, right? So it ends up that they're all against us and all came revealed. And why is it? Just missing a little vitamin C, little vitamin C, right? And what's the vitamin C in this case? This is the ALEF that you have to put into the gula. Do more Torah, more commandments, do a little more praying, do more good deeds. That's the ALEF. Put a little more godliness in, all of a sudden, all the scurvy goes away. Paul, this causes this is, maybe we can say the ALEF is or, light. C means to see. I just made that up. You can, okay. So Shekam, also the lights, the upper lights, which are above the revelation, will be drawn down and revealed here below. And by means of this will be negated all of the things of the concealment that there are in the world. The opposite of good won't be opposite of good anymore. Yeshlam, where we can say, that the whole thing of my sin of Avodatenu, that the whole advantage of our deeds all the time of exile, and by means of this, it brings that these upper lights will be drawn down and revealed below. This is because of bittul u'mesirat nefesh shemudgeshet biyoter. This is because what causes the cure? What is the vitamin C that causes that'll cure the whole thing? The self-sacrifice and the devotion of the Jews all the time of exile. I mean, I don't want to take this thing too far because I just made it up, but why not? I'll take it too far. A lemon you have to squeeze. You want to get out that vitamin C, you got to squeeze the lemon. The same thing, the exile has squeezed us. And that is the cure. If a Jew just flows along with it, right? You flow along with the exile, right? I didn't say, why are there Jews that hate themselves? Because the whole world hates us, and there's just Jews that decided to join them, which is logic. You want to be part of the majority, right? You want to be part of the majority. But there's some Jews that say, no, I'm not going to join them. I'm going to do Torah, I'm going to do the commandments no matter what. No matter what. Then the exile is going to squeeze us. It's going to be difficult. Those Jews that went to America and they refused to work on Shabbat, so it was very difficult. Where are they going to get work? Where are they going to get from? Right? Work, money from? They squeezed themselves. Somehow or other they made it. But at least they did the truth. There was someone who held on to the truth. That's called bittul. That's called surrender to the truth and mesirat nefesh and self-sacrifice. Shemitzad bechinas yechida. This comes from the essence, the Jewish essence. The Jewish essence. That's the level of yechida. We talked about that before. Go to the biggest atheist Jew you can find, right? And tell him you're not a good Jew. Chances are, unless he's an Israeli, even the Israelis, they'll say, what are you talking about? You're going to tell me I'm not a Jew? You're going to make a decision? Maybe you're not a Jew. Maybe. Why is it important to him? Why is it important to him? Take a person, his parents were Catholic, and he stops being a Catholic, doesn't do any Catholic, does nothing to do with the Pope, nothing to, you say, you're a bad Catholic. He said, I'm not a Catholic at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Right? You go to a Jew, you say, you're not a good Jew. You drop dead. You're going to tell me what I'm going to do. All of a sudden, it's important to him. Right? And because why? Because it is important. And it makes no sense. And that's what a Jew is. It makes no sense. It is important and it is good. And all the things that he thinks about, I don't have to do the commandments and all he's right. Logically, he's got a good point. He has a good point, logically. But Judaism is not logical. Judaism is from the essence of the soul. And that's what the whole exile is trying to push on us. Listen, Judaism, of course, is logical. We sit and learn all day. It's the people of the book, right? But the essence of Judaism is not. All the learning of the Torah, all the commandments that we're doing is only because of one reason. That's what God wants. What am I going to get out of it? Doesn't enter my mind what I'm going to get out of it. What's God going to get out of it? Oh, he's got someone that's learning that they're doing the truth. That squeezes us. When it's easy, you're sitting in Kfar Chabad, you're sitting in Bnei Brak, and you're learning the Torah, and you've got all your friends, you have your rabbis and everything. That's okay. But when you're in Russia, when you're in a terrible place, and then you do the commandments, that's already not so easy anymore. That reveals the level of yechida. Is that going to assert itself in your day-to-day life? That's connected with the level of yechid, the essence of God, which is above the whole entire creation, whole Seder Ishtalshalut. This makes a joining between these two opposites of Ratzah v'Shov, of going close to God and coming back to God, from God. That's life. That's dynamic. That's dynamic. And if there's not this wanting to come close to God and coming back and fixing up the world, going both of these things, then that's called Mtzora, that's death. That we want the upper lights of God to be drawn down into the physical world. That's called life. Then things start to move. That's putting the ALEF, the essence of God, into Gola, which is the exile, which is the lowest. According to this movement, we can understand the kesher, the connection, and between these two Torah portions, Tazria, which we're reading this week, and Mtzora, which is going to be next week. Both of them are talking about the same topic. They're talking about Mtzora. Both of them are talking about this leprosy thing and how to cure it. But Tazria seems to indicate giving seed, that's redemption. And Mtzora, the simple meaning is the disease, exile. So how can the healing come before the disease? That was the question asked. That was the question the Rebbe asked. How can the redemption come before the exile? Tazria, which is redemption, giving birth, seed, that comes before the sickness. What does that mean? Let's see. Inyan, the whole idea of the Nagayim, of this Tzorat, Parshas Tazria, and beginning, and that's Tazria, that's the plague, and how you heal them in Parshas Mtzora, which is healing them. So that's the opposite of the names. That was another question the Rebbe asked. Tazria means the healing, that's the redemption, but it talks about the sickness. That's the content. You'll see this week's Torah portion. And Mtzora is talking about the disease, and the content is healing. So the whole thing is all mixed up. Doesn't seem to make any sense. Says the Rebbe, I'm going to try to make sense of this. Listen. Cave and since, Sha'ga'ula, we're going to have to stop in the middle here. Cave and since, Sha'ga'ula, that the future redemption is not a thing in itself. The whole idea of the redemption is revelation, the truth of why there is exile, why God put us in exile. Why? In order to squeeze us so that we should reveal the truth. But Dugmas Taurus, this is like something like purifying the Mtzora, the leper, by means of revealing the true inyan. They have to bring a Kohen. It says the Kohen comes and makes them pure. Therefore, after, first of all, there is, excuse me, the Beta Parsha that says Isha ki Tazria, the woman, when she gives seed and she gives birth to a male, this hints at the whole entire general service. That's the whole topic of the whole thing. Tazria, by means of this, by means of the woman giving seed, that this gives birth to the true redemption. That's like the title of the whole entire thing. That's the title. Now we're going to explain to you how it's going to be, how is going to be the future redemption. Isha Tazria, that's the first Torah portion, that's the title. Then after that comes all the details. In the content of Tazria is the disease, right? But the title of this whole business of the disease, namely the exile and the redemption, which is the curing of the disease, the title of that is Isha ki Tazria v'yolda zachar. We're going to show how it's going to be, the future redemption, Tazria, how it's going to be. Want to see the details? Let's go. Starts off, first of all, Tazria, all the disease. Talks about the disease, right? And Tazria means the redemption, but that's the title. The details are found in Parshas Tazria, the disease, the exile, all the things. First of all, Tazria, which the word Tazria means the redemption, is talking about the sickness, the exile. Since the exile really comes from tremendously high lights, it shows how much God cares about us. Lochi, and therefore, he's sending us these signs that we have to, and he's squeezing us. Lochi, and therefore, after, how you read it, after the descent into exile, then we can see, because it comes from God, we see that really the exile is not true, deep exile. It's just in the flesh. It's just in our skin. It's revealed below in the lowest worlds, and then that'll be that's the step to redemption. And there's the bad things that are happening are only challenges that treasures that we, when we open them up, we see concealed within are these tremendously highlights of God when we meet the challenge, when we defy the difficulties in the world. That's in the Parshas Tazria. In Parshas Mtzora, Mtzora means exile, is talking about how we cure it, Geula. That's the content of the Torah portion. Kavan, since the Taharas and Negoim, since the refinement of this is by means of his galus in Yonim, revealing things of Negoim. What's the truth of the Negoim? What is the truth? What's the real fact of why God sends these terrible things into the world? The truth, reason why there is exile, the Tochno Geula, the whole content of the exile is the inyan of Mtzora, the Malius, a good thing. What's good about leprosy? That it's a way that it, because when you reveal the good, which is really concealed in the bad, it means there can't be any more bad anymore. These tremendous highlights are drawn down below a tremendous revelation, which there's no exile afterwards. It's almost like, let's say, a king, and he puts a mask on. Nobody knows who he is. He comes in the room. No one knows. They think the king is sitting. All of a sudden, the king takes off the mask. Everybody realizes, wow, we didn't know the king could put on a disguise. King could put on a disguise. Then that's it. That's it. As soon as the king takes off his disguise, then the king can't disguise himself anymore. No matter what type of disguise it comes, he comes in. No, that's the king. I know that's the king. All right, you go look. The same thing. The exile. The exile is really God putting on a disguise. Looks bad. Once you reveal the good inside of it, God can't put on a disguise anymore. I realize the whole thing is just godliness. And that's what's called the redemption, which is inside of the exile. The good, which is inside of the Mtzora. As we'll talk about more tomorrow. And now let's go the story. The Dvar Malchut, the Yom Yom, sorry.